Through Action program. We recently just launched a program called Healing Through Action. And this program literally is centering the hearts in the families who have lost their children to police violence and state violence. What this program is focusing on is literally holding healing space for them to be in community with others who know their same trauma and hold that trauma in a space where they can heal together with each other, to create family, to create sisterhood and brotherhood. With this program, we want to also incorporate the political education. One thing that a lot of mothers and families express is that, they don't know how to reach out for resources, or they don't have them in their communities. And Mama Barbara, who is in the program, who this program was literally created in honor of, really believes that healing through the action is her healing piece. Like her actually fighting for the justice of her son is her healing. So we have a 12-week program where these families are learning skills on political education, public speaking, learning the political landscape, learning how to tell their narrative and stories, because we know the media will tell these narratives in a horrific way. So we're getting the families to be forefront and to say, no, this is what happened to my child. This is the story I want to tell. So this 12-week program is giving them those tools so they can advocate the way they see fit. And I'm just grateful and thankful that our team has recently launched this program. It just got launched August 21st. We had our first session last Saturday, and we had our healing retreat where we took the families to Half Moon Bay for 2 nights to really unwind and be in community with each other. And I'm just grateful to share that with y'all. We do have some more updates. Angela's going to share some stuff with y'all. Angela, you ready to share some updates with us?
Yeah, definitely. Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Sandoval, Senior Organizer and Legal Advocate here at the Ella Baker Center. And last month was incredible. As Mika just mentioned, we had our Healing Through Action retreat. We also had our Night Out for Safety and Liberation, which was a huge success. We had fantastic turnout, even with all the fears of Delta. There was a steady flow of people. We gave out pupusas, diapers, resources, educational materials, art, a positive vision. Nifa was on the mic. We had some amazing break dancers and mariachi. It was powerful. And it was exciting for everyone. Thank you for everyone that was able to come out and support, and everyone that amplified us on social media. There's going to be another opportunity to engage. We have our next mutual aid event that's scheduled for Sunday, September 26th. I'm going to be putting a link in the chat for people that want to register to volunteer for that, or just more information so they can spread it out to their community so we can get as much turnout as possible. And we are doing these mutual aid events quarterly, so there will be one more before the end of the year. And we're always open to figuring out what community should we be targeting, where is there the most need, and how can we meet that need most directly. So definitely plug in with us in order to engage on that. I've got a couple of updates here from the policy department. They're all actually at a retreat for the next few days, so they don't have any representation here, but they went ahead and sent me a couple of updates to give everybody. So Assembly Bill 256, also known as the Racial Justice Act for All, as of right now, it's been extended into a 2-year bill. That means right now it won't be moving forward until January. Assembly Bill 292, which has to do with access to programming for incarcerated individuals. That one is actually going to be going to a full floor vote on the Senate. So we're going to be asking people to call their senators, call their assembly members, put pressure on their legislature, and amplify anything that we put out on social media. Also, Senate Bill 483, the RISE Act. This reduces sentences by removing certain enhancements. That's also going to be going to a full vote on the assembly floor. So there's some really significant opportunities to move things forward, as well as to continue building on the successes that we've had in the past. So please reach out to our policy department or myself if you have any specific questions I can clarify. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to LJ.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm LJ, use she, her pronouns, and I'm representing the development team, AKA fundraising. And something that you may or may not know is that the development team, the fundraising team here at EBC has a group of volunteers called the Resource Organizing Project. And they've been helping EBC organize resources for like 3 or 4 years now. It's been quite a while that this crew has been together. Shout out Arnie. He is a big leader in this crew. And I just wanted to extend the invite. We would love more. We'd love to bring more folks in. We've had some people move or move on to different things this year. So we could certainly use some more volunteers. So if you're interested in like helping us fundraise and organize resources, we would love to have you. You can direct message me, and I'll also follow up with folks after. We meet once a month, like very similar to the member meeting, just a 1.5 hour meeting every month. And so something else that I wanted to share with y'all is you may or may not know that EBC is celebrating 25 years of organizing this year, which is really special. And we're having an event to celebrate on October 27th. You'll get a save the date in your email in the next few weeks about that. And Michelle Alexander is going to be there. She wrote The New Jim Crow, which was obviously really pivotal for this movement. And fun fact, she's actually an honorary board member of Ella Baker Center. She's been a supporter for a long time. So we're excited to celebrate this milestone with her as well. So this is also an opportunity to fundraise. And so we would love to get some of our donors there who we haven't seen in a while. And so one of the things that the resource organizing committee is going to be doing is phone banking some of those donors, inviting them to come to this event and participate. And so if you are interested in calling some people up, we would love to have you. I know phone banking sounds like kind of bad, but I promise it's really fun. People really like to hear from EBC. I've found they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. What's going on? What have y'all been up to? What bills are up right now? People really love to catch up and show love. So, you know, if you're feeling like you need some human connection, we would love to have you.
Thank you so much, LJ, for that update. And also thank you for me being on the committee to help support you with that, with the partner award and stuff like that. It's been going, and I'm excited to give these awards to our folks. So I'm excited about that. So thank you. So before we get into our presentation, I kind of want to pose a question around, you know, crimmigration. I can't even say the word, y'all. Like, this is how you know it's so new to me. Crimmigration. Am I saying it right? Can y'all help me? Crimmigration. Have y'all heard this word? Have y'all, you know, educated yourself on crimmigration? And if you have, what do you know? Before we get into the information, like, I don't know, if I'm the only one, let me know, you know, but I'm curious to know, like, have you all heard this word crimmigration, and what are your thoughts around it? You can write some stuff in the chat. We learning together, y'all. You have not heard it before. See, so I'm not alone, okay? So I don't feel too crazy. Okay. Okay, who else? Who else? What do we have? New to, okay, I'm curious to learn more. Oh, thank you. Oh, this is making me feel so good, y'all. Thank y'all. Yes, okay, the criminal legal system creates crime. Thank you, Arnie. Thank you for that. Yes. Immigrants who have a visa, non-immigrant visa, or green card, and or in the process of seeking citizenship through naturalization. Oh, sorry. So, y'all hooking it up. Must be extremely cautious. Breaking the law in any way can impact their immigrant status, thus demonstrating the prevalence of criminalization in America. Oh, wow. System criminalizing immigrants. Oh, wow. Thank you, community. Thank you so much for sharing that. Marati is going to like really break down some info about the CDCR and their connection with ICE. And I'm just happy again to be in this space to learn. I posed that information that I couldn't even say the word because honestly, I can't. And I'm a teacher and a student every day. So I'm just happy to be in space to get the information to learn and educate myself and then also my community about this. So Marati, thank you for creating a presentation to really educate us on crimmigration.
Yeah, for sure. Very excited to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Marati. I use they, them pronouns. I'm an organizer with Ella Baker Center. And today I'll be like the moderator and also facilitator of the space. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint so we could dive deeper what crimmigration means and how we can understand it. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let me pull up the chat. Okay, cool. So when I refer to CDCR, that just means like California prison and jail system in general. So that's the initial for it. And then we'll be talking about how ICE and CDCR collaborate and actually work together very closely. And that in general is how we're going to start understanding more about crimmigration. So the general definition of crimmigration is just two bodies of law, immigration law and the criminal law, and how those two laws interact with each other in an intersection. And so this is a loose, fluid definition, but what we're trying to really understand is how crimmigration impact people's personal lives and their own experience with that, which we'll go deeper into with the panel. And so before we go deeper into crimmigration, I want to set like definitions and understandings of how prison, jails, and detention centers are different systems, but they all are the same system and work together. And so in general, jails are for people who have not been convicted yet, or they have been sentenced to a relatively shorter sentence, and this is run by local sheriffs. Prisons, on the other hand, are people who are convicted, who have been convicted of a felony, and this is usually for more serious convictions, and it's run by like the state system. Immigration detention is actually, instead of these different demographics, it more focuses on undocumented folks, people who are permanent residents with convictions, and people either if they just came here or they've been in the US for decades. And that is run by the federal system. And so these are all different bodies of structures. And so they also work together. And so understanding the factors of putting people into prison and in jails, we have to understand California's tough on crime policies. And so these policies excessively sentence people and extend their sentences for nonviolent offenses, which makes California the second largest prison population in the US. People who are funneled into the jail and prison systems are often survivors of domestic violence, war, and poverty. There's structural reasons why people end up incarcerated. And for this, we know that the lack of safety nets for survivors affect people of color who are over-policed and over-criminalized. And so the problem with that is that when you have an overpopulation of prisons, we see how there's a trend of ICE detentions working closely with the prisons to get more numbers into the detention centers. So there's a specific population in the intersection of crimmigration called direct transfers. So direct transfers refer to people who are incarcerated either in jail, state prison, or private prison, and upon their release, they're immediately transferred to ICE. So ICE and prisons and jails work closely together to communicate with each other when someone is going to be released. And when they are aware of someone's release date, ICE has a window to respond and detain this person. The ways they work together is so interconnected that ICE even has offices inside jails and prisons where they actively and voluntarily communicate with each other, even though there's no law abiding for them to work this closely. I'm gonna pause there and take any questions so far. Okay, so I'll be using the language direct transfers a lot throughout this PowerPoint because it refers to refugees and immigrants who are funneled into detention centers. And so this is a really good graphic of understanding things a little bit more, but the main thing I want to highlight about this is the difference between a determinate sentence and an indeterminate sentence. So a determinate sentence, when you're sent to jail or prison, they tell you the amount of time you have to serve. They tell you this is the amount of time you could be up for parole and this is when you could be released. Indeterminate sentence is an indefinite amount of time. People who serve indeterminate sentences could serve decades and even more without knowing when their release date is. And so the major thing about these two sentences is that typically people who get funneled into ICE have indeterminate sentence, meaning they do not know their release date, how long they're going to be detained for, and how long they could fight their case. And so because of that, it makes it really hard for people to actually know what their possibilities are to fight their deportation case. Okay, there's this question. I'm not sure how to answer that, but we'll get back to that. Okay, so in addition to all these structures, jail, prison, detention center, we also want to consider the role of the governor. And so the governor actually allows people, he goes one by one of seeing who actually is eligible for parole and the release date. He approves each person when they're about to be released out of prison. And he makes a final decision of their freedom and approves it basically. But at the same time, the governor still allows ICE to operate in California's state prison systems and jails. So there's this tug and pull that there's a lot of gratitude for the governor for releasing people's freedom and allowing them to be up for parole and allowing them to be reunited with their families. But at the same time, he allows ICE to work so extensively with jails and prisons to the point that ICE depend on funneling people from these structures into their system. So ICE actively depends on jails and prisons to meet their quota of numbers of how many people they want to detain. I'm gonna take a pause here to drink some water. And so this diagram here shows how ICE arrests people. And you can see here, there's multiple forms of points that someone could be arrested, jailed, and be sent to prisons. But all of it connects into how ICE, either which point you're at, ICE has a way to be communicating with these structures and systems. ICE has a way to know and detain people without people even knowing. And so these are just the general structures that are set in place for ICE to work as extensively as they do. I wanted to go switching a little gears, is that I wanted to share, like, there's a notion and image of California as a sanctuary state. And yes, that's important, but that's because of the legislation and laws that are set because of people wanting to limit the ability of jails and local police departments working with ICE. And so while we do have these forms of protections within the jails, these laws generally do not apply to state prison. So that's why people who are funneled to state prison and then transferred to ICE, it makes it that much harder for them to fight their case because these same sanctuary laws do not apply to them. Sanctuary state is kind of usually like, oh, California protects immigrants, and so ICE isn't allowed to like come to your house and detain you automatically. They're not supposed to use scare tactics. Usually there's like a process of which they have to detain people, but we know that's not the case, that they don't actually follow these laws. And we also know that the sanctuary protection policies do not actually protect incarcerated immigrants and refugees. Okay, this is a general overview of like different structures of how they interact. I won't get into all this, but you will have a copy of this PowerPoint afterwards. Okay, and then I want to reiterate why this fight is important and why I'm specifically talking about direct transfer population. It's because direct transfers lie in the intersection between the criminal justice system and immigration. These populations include survivors of war, survivor of domestic violence, and people who've been impacted by poverty. And by fighting to end direct transfers, we're also fighting to end the dichotomy of who is worthy of freedom. Instead of putting the frame and putting the binary of like DACA recipient and like incarcerated refugees against each other, we're actually fighting for the freedom of all and making sure that we're fighting for the liberation of all. Okay, I'm gonna take pause. So again, you'll have a copy of this PowerPoint to go over the talking points a little bit more. So if things come up with your conversation with other people and they don't know really how to talk about like direct transfers, or they don't know how to talk about the criminal justice or immigration reform and all those things, here are some talking points that are access ways for people to really understand the humility and the importance of all these structures and why they should be abolished. Okay. So again, so these are some other talking points. No one should be marked by their worst mistakes. It's inhumane for California to send people to countries that they have little ties to or will face additional harm. Deportation continues to target the most marginalized communities, especially those with conviction. And then after being released from prison, immigration status should not determine one's chance to restart their life with their communities. And these are some general talking points that are really helpful for people to understand like how the crimmigration system works and how we could like really uphold people's humanity. And so with that, I'm gonna pause for some questions and then we'll switch to our panel.
I do have a question. Well, it's more so a thought. So, you know, I have friends who are considered like immigrants and they don't have like, you know, social security numbers and like those type of documentations that we have here in the US. So if police see them, like they can get detained and like taken into ICE, or do you have to commit a crime or whatever to get connected with the police, or do they just really just spot you out and say, let me see your identification? Like, what? Yeah, sorry, my question's like.
That's a good question, especially because there's a lot of understanding of how ICE operates, that ICE just goes to people and find them and then detain them, which they do occasionally. But we know their demographics and population, that they actually get their numbers and means of communications of people's status through arrests, jails, and prisons. And so if they haven't touched like any of the prison industrial complex, they are likely to be a bit safer because they're not actively tracked through the system yet, but there is still that risk. And that's why there's a lot of know your rights. Like if you aren't, if the police have no right to like arrest you, you don't have to like talk or share any information. So there's a lot of like protection in that way through like public knowledge. Yeah, I see also in the chat that people are talking about Vision Act, which we'll go deeper into actually. Okay, now we will have our amazing panelists come through, share and drop knowledge. So I want to introduce the first panelist. I'm gonna spotlight for everyone. Our first panelist is Charles Joseph. Charles is an organizer, musician, and community leader. He's currently the spiritual activist in residence with Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. Can we get some like claps and some applause in the chats? Let's like really show these people some love.
Hey.
Yes. He is an example of someone who deserves compassion after serving 12 years in prison and being found eligible for parole. ICE detained Charles for 12 months and still attempting to deport him back to Fiji, a country he left in his youth. So welcome, Charles. Really honored to have you here.
Much respect. Bula to all. Bula is good life greetings in Fijian. Bula to all.
Thank you, Charles. The next one that I'm going to spotlight is Bun, Chanthon Bun. Chanthon is an artist, abolitionist organizer, and formerly incarcerated leader. He's the first documented ICE transfer that we were able to stop last year. And right now he's a Yuri Kochiyama Fellow with Asian Law Caucus and a volunteer with Asian Prisoner Support Committee. Yeah, welcome, Bud.
Hi,
Hey,
y'all.
Bud, welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Lastly, I want to introduce Maria. So Maria is an immigrant and community leader. She served nearly 20 years in prison and was found suitable for parole. Instead of coming home to her family and friends, she was directly transferred to ICE detention. Since her release, she worked on her healing through supporting COVID relief programs, knitting clothes for those in need. She's currently the Reentry Coordinator with Asian Prisoner Support Committee. She's still facing the threat of deportation to the Philippines after 17 years in incarceration. So really give a shout out to all these people. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, thank you, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah, so honored to be in the space with y'all. Much love to y'all. So we could dive into our first question. So the first question is, how do you define crimmigration, especially with your experiences? I'm gonna pass it to you first, Maria. Oh, you're on, okay, yeah, you're good.
I have nothing
Hi.
to compare this to, so to me, this is
So for me, excuse me, hold on. So for me, like you, Nifa, I didn't understand what crimmigration is. You know, I only understood it right when I got to detention. And so for me, it's where, because of my criminal convictions, I was sent to immigration. So that was my understanding of it.
We don't see Alexa anymore.
You know, but it's really where criminal law and immigration law intersects, and it's a tough one to understand. So that was my understanding of what crimmigration was for somebody that was facing, you know, deportation.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna ask folks to mute themselves if they're not speaking. That would be really helpful. Okay. Okay, and then I'll pass it to Charles. How would you define crimmigration?
Oh, crimmigration. You know, it's this concept, just because I was, you know what, I wanna answer this question. Nifa said, you know, immigrant, it's like the definition is people without paperwork, right? Is an immigrant. I have Social Security. I have a green card. You know, I'm a permanent resident. I came here legally. I flew into the country, came with my parents. You know, I've been here for over 2 decades. And I'm an immigrant, you know, and because I made a mistake, that automatically entitles the government to mistreat me, to treat me as second-class citizen, to take me from prison, you know, where I got done serving my time and found eligible for parole, released on parole, and not even walk out the gate, you know, for them to just snatch me up, throw me in a van, and put me in another cage for another year, you know. And the only reason I actually got out is because of community support and a group of attorneys that fought, you know, and fought hard and got a federal judge to, you know, order ICE to release me. And it's so inhumane, you know, just to think of people were being in there for so long. And for what? It's a civil matter. It's a status, you know. Imagine going to jail. Imagine doing a civil crime and them just coming to pick you up for your first court date and throwing you in jail to the resolution of the case for a civil matter. You know, that's what crimmigration. It's this criminalizing of something that, you know, like just because of your status, just because you came from somewhere else, you're automatically a criminal. They'll throw you in a cage, you know. It allows them to dehumanize you, to treat you as second class citizen. And this is crimmigration to me, you know. Yeah, I made a mistake. I did my time. But now, just because I wasn't born here, it allows you to continue to punish me, to cage me indeterminately, as long as you want. And I keep fighting. The longer I fight, the longer you cage me. I was released after 11 months. My brother, Claude Bent, was in there over 3 years. You know, and I had a brother, Chong Wong An, who never made it out. Survived 8 years of prison and didn't survive 3 months in detention. And that's blood on the system's hand, you know. Oh, I'm again carried away. Let me pull back. But crimmigration, I think I hit a little points there. I eat up too much time.
No worries. This time is for all of y'all. Thank you for sharing, Charles. I'm going to switch it over to you, Bun. How do you define crimmigration?
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me in this space. It took me a long time to understand what crimmigration was. And looking back on my experiences, crimmigration started for me the first step I stepped on this country. I believe that we came from war, from genocide, from refugee camps, and survived it all. And coming here, they place us in the most impoverished neighborhood, the most violent neighborhoods where this country don't care about, and we had to survive it. You know, we went through racial discrimination, bullying. Shit, I went through the DARE program, and all it taught me was they're gonna kill me too. Coming from a place where we didn't even trust authorities where I came from, coming here, they told me if I look like one, I am one. Well, look where I'm living at, and my family. So you automatically discriminate against me, saying that I'm a criminal already because of where I live now and my family. And this led me to with the trauma that I lived with as a child and living on survival mode on the streets. It led me to a long time of being in prison. And being in prison is a pipeline that the ICE and immigration take advantage of, because that's where they make their money. Like Marati said, they need to fill their quotas. Where else are they gonna get human bodies into beds that pays them other than prison? And they're meticulous about it because they don't ask Americans if you look white. They don't ask you where were you born. They look at you first, and then they read your name. It doesn't sound right. Where were you born? The minute they ask that, you know they're gonna contact ICE on you. And this is just a strategy, a collaboration between ICE, CDCR, the county jails, to make more money, to funnel more money to the private prison, to ICE enforcement, with the rhetoric of they're evil. These guys come to our country and they ruin it. They're destroying our society. And that fear mongering continues to today. And we've been punished, like Joseph said, we've been punished and punished and punished and taking every ounce of blood in us. Like all my brothers and sisters that have been to detention, who wouldn't fight to stay with their family? Thank you.
No. Okay, thanks y'all. I really appreciate all your own, like sharing your own experiences. And I just also want to highlight like the criminalization of migration patterns, like as if the US didn't set the circumstances of why people had to flee. We see that of what happened in Cambodia Vietnam, and now in Afghanistan, and we see how people are criminalized because they're refugees, because they're immigrants, and how imperialism plays a role into that. So I thank y'all for sharing and highlighting your experience. I'm going to go into the second question right now. So I'm going to go first with Maria. How did being a direct transfer impact you and your family?
Hi, everybody. So I realized, that in the panel, there's like the direct transfer from ICE, from prison to ICE is something new. And so I'm just going to give a little bit of background, how it's like I was a juvenile lifer when I was sentenced to 15 to life. And so it took me nearly 15 years. And throughout that journey, I had to go through a rigorous change, with board, with insight. And, when I got found suitable, board wanted to make sure that I'm not a threat to society. They have to release me knowing that I will be a productive member of society, And so in 2019, when I got released, my family wanted to pick me up in CCWF in Chowchilla. But I told them that it's not possible because I have an ICE detainer. And the ICE detainer wasn't in my file till I got to CDCR, because one of the counselors from CDCR contacted ICE asking if I had a active hold. And so that's how CDCR came and started collaborating with ICE and for many others like me. The direct transfer for me on the day I paroled and had earned my second chance was a private contractor, Geo, waiting for me in one of the cells with shackles, leg shackles, and handcuffs. So that's how I was greeted back into society on my first day of freedom. No families. I was on the road 72 hours. The stops were holding cell stops. I was transferred from Fresno holding cell to Mesa Verde, from Mesa Verde back to Fresno, from Fresno back to Mesa Verde, and then Adelanto. So that was 72 hours on the road from the day I got paroled. When I called my family, when I finally got housed in Adelanto, I remember my mom saying that she thought that the life sentence was over that day when I got paroled. But the fight continues. I stayed in detention for 11 months, and every waking moment was a cliffhanger moment. I don't know how much more to explain that when somebody calls you from the podium, an officer calls you in the podium saying, Legarda, you need to go to booking. Numerous times they called me to booking to hand me transfer documentation, travel documentation. And I know because from Anu saying that, no, that's not what's supposed to happen. And so not only does it take a mental toll, emotional toll, spiritual toll on me, but my family. They thought that when I got paroled, that the life sentence was over. It was much worse, because now they don't know if the next phone call they get was, okay, Maria is in the Philippines, she got deported. And then what would be the next phone call that they're going to get from the Philippines? So that's the struggle that the families, not just me, but the families go through with the prison direct transfer to ICE. And so for me, after I got with the community help, I was released from detention after 11 months. The community worked together to gather support letters to find me housing, and it was at the onset of COVID. I was released to the transitional house in LA, and I was released under supervision from ICE. They had to put an ankle monitor, and if I was already ashamed for what I did 20 years ago, that ankle monitor did not just shame me again all over again, but my family had to go through the mental shaming of when people look at me with the ankle monitor. And so it wasn't just me that was being shamed, but my family. And that's what going through the process of fighting to stay with family, that's what they have to go through too as well. The reentry support that we need after detention is very important. For people under supervision, our life is in limbo because we don't know what is going to happen the next day because of our appeal. We can't make plans. We can't make plans for ourselves nor our families. Their life is at a standstill. So what I did was, I can't let the ankle monitor hold me down. I can't let ICE hold me down from reaching the potential that I need to reach. So today, with the reentry support from APSC, ALC, Interfaith Movement, I advocate for our brothers and sisters that are still locked up in prison, that are still in detention. And so I really want to emphasize that the families go through too, all the emotional toll when we go through this fight. And the passing of the Vision Act will help not just the immigrant, the formerly incarcerated that's facing deportation, but the families as well. And I just want to make it clear that not all that are facing deportation are illegal immigrants. They were refugees. They were legal permanent residents. However, when the system failed them at one point because they were they were forced to leave their country because of war, the system here, the land of opportunity for them, failed them. And now they're facing the same struggle they faced when they first got here. And it all leads back to immigration. Thank you all for listening. And I'm gonna pass it on to Marati.
Thank you, Maria. So much love to you. I think you really shared how being a direct transfer and serving even more time in detention has an impact on not only you, your family. Like the dangerous thing about, and the inhumane thing about indeterminate sentence is like, you don't know how much hope you can have because they don't tell you when you're able to be free. And we can't trust these systems to allow us to get free. And that's why it's so powerful that community came to rally all three of y'all for y'all release. And it makes me so proud and happy to even be in the same space as y'all as we continue to fight to end direct transfers and deportation and prisons and everything. I'm gonna switch over to ask Charles the same question. How did being a direct transfer impact you and your family and community?
My story's similar to Maria, family waiting for me excited. I was released a day after my birthday. I get to the R&R, change into my fly clothes, kicks. Like, whoa, man, I never wore all black. You can't wear all black in prison, So I like all black fit, just ready to walk out. And didn't get a chance, They had a private security company, G4S. They come cuff me up and threw me in a van, and 18-hour trip from Solano State Prison to Sacramento, and then back down to Bakersfield to Mesa Verde with stops along the way. I just want to highlight one thing, it's immigration system, ICE. It's up to their complete discretion to hold you or release you, Due to community support, I was released. And a lot of that was reaching out, me and my brothers in there organizing together. I was in a 100-man dorm. We did sit-ins, hunger strikes, talks with attorneys and organizations, and got on YouTube, as a special on YouTube. It's detention, not death sentence, you know. And we did that from inside the walls. We were screaming out, you know, like there's a lot of injustice and it's inhumane, you know, 100 men sleeping next to each other, like no space, no privacy, no nothing. I came from prison where it was level 4, all cell living. Now they throw me in a dorm with people going through mental anguish and peeing on themselves. Everybody just losing their minds. Everybody's zombied out there because they don't have no mental health. So they just feed you pills, giving people pills, and people walking around like zombies just to get through the stress of the day, being there for years, you know, with no end. Like they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And ICE has complete discretion. You know, after they released me, a couple of months later, they released the whole women's dorm. All the women, they just shut the women's dorm down and told all of them, go to your families. Like, wow. You know, a system that is able to do that, it's complete discretion on them to hold you or not hold you. And it had to take a federal judge to order the facility to like, look, you at 400, you're capped off at like 30 something. They had to go from 400 to 30 something people because that's what the facility was designed to hold. But they had 400 people in that facility. And that was my life in detention, you know? It's like 11 months of that. After fighting through that, they still didn't want to release me. They released me a day late and put me on house arrest for another 11 months, which I had to get a federal judge to order them to take me off of house arrest because I was already on parole. Why am I on parole? House arrest. They say, okay, let you go and throw you on the ankle shackle. After house arrest, now I'm still on ankle shackle. Like I'm shackled up. You know, this is modern day slavery, real life, coming from a foreign country. I mean, going through the juvenile system, you know, it's not right. It's inhumane, you know. It's this oppressive system. And they continue to oppress us, you know. People look at me and they're like, oh, I didn't even, you know what? It's another thing. I never knew what it was to be a Black man till later on when I was in prison and studying, you know, and then I realized like, you know what? All my life in America, people have categorized me because of melanin, you know, oh, he's Black. And they have treated me as such, you know, from being the guy that had an accent and being bullied to whooping my bully, ending up in juvenile hall. Like I was never given a chance, you know, and I always wondered like, why? You know, why didn't they give me the benefit of hope? Like, give him a chance, you know, don't expel him from school, suspend him. My bully was suspended. I whooped my bully's ass, I got expelled. It's like, whoa, like there's something wrong. And that's what happens, the system, you know, that's prison industrial complex. It's from our neighborhoods all the way through juvenile hall, our high schools, all the way. It's the pipelines from the street all the way through, you know, our upbringing. It's like people we're being raised to end up in this pipeline, you know, and it's messed up. We need to end that, you know, we need to end that. I may have strayed far from the subject matter, but I just wanted to voice my mind a little bit. And I know fellow panelists, they touch on, especially Maria, she touched on that really well. I mean, that was my experience also, you know, family pain, community pain. And I'm out here now, you know, I contribute so much. I could have did this a long time ago instead of being in immigration. But much respect, much love.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing. I think it's just really wild because we know release is possible and freedom is possible, but the system chooses not to. And I think it's just really important how all these different supervisions that they put is supposed to basically not even do it for protection of the people. They do it in a way of surveillance and violence and violating people's humanity. And so it's just really important that we really know how these work so we could just like take it all out, you know? So I'm gonna switch it over to Bun. How did being a direct transfer impact you and your community?
Yeah, after 23 years of incarceration, I was given a chance in February of 2020 to appear before the Board of Parole hearings, and I gained my freedom then. That was something that I thought would never come to me. And when I came home, I called my mom and my kids saying that I got granted parole, but at the same breath, I had to tell them that ICE is gonna come see me and I'm gonna be detained. So their happiness lasted about 2 breaths until I told them that ICE is gonna come see me. And when my mom heard that, she asked what would happen. And I said, they're gonna deport me back to Cambodia. That triggered her. All her trauma came back because all she knew from Cambodia was murders. Half of our family were murdered there, including my father. And she thought that if I was to be sent back, I would never survive because that's all she knew. And then also at that time, San Quentin was having the biggest COVID outbreak. And I had to wait 120 days before the governor granted my full release. The ICE agent was so bold, he walked into the prison with the biggest COVID outbreak to come speak to me and to tell me that he's going to detain me in July 1st. And I asked him, why July 1st? And he told me that CDC allowed him to set a date to come pick me up, even if it's past my maximum date of being released. 5 days before I was to be released, I contracted COVID. I tried to stay away from it as long as I could, but I contracted. During those 120 days of waiting, I heard my community outside San Quentin walls demanding my release, calling for my release. And we were locked down. All I heard was the correctional officers coming saying like, hey, you have people out there with signs asking for your release. And that gave me a lot of hope. But I knew what kind of beast ICE was. And I gave it up to all my community members, my supporters, for trying their best to save me. So as the day goes by, I'm getting sicker and sicker, and I knew that I'm not gonna make it in ICE because I have underlying medical issues. My temperature was going up every day, and I wrote a letter to my family telling them how much I love them, just in case I didn't make it when I went to ICE because of COVID. Now, on the first came, I was ready. My fellow brothers in there collected whatever soap they had, hand sanitizer, whatever mask they had, and they made sure they got me a N95 mask, all the Tylenol they could find, ibuprofen, so I could take care of myself there. I had my little medical pack set up to go to ICE. Upon them taking me to R&R, I was waiting on ICE and didn't see them. And they didn't tell me anything at all. And I was still there waiting and waiting. And as I wait, my temperature just kept going up and up. And a lot of supporters and community members was in the back gate of the prison waiting to protest ICE when they came to pick me up. And the staff knew, and they were taunting him, like, oh, he's not coming out this way, but didn't tell him that I was being released that day. Without ICE wasn't gonna pick me up. They dropped me off at a bus station and told me to get on a bus, which I didn't know how to get on after 23 years. The only sign I saw was San Francisco, and I got on that bus. I was fortunate enough to call Anoop and told Anoop I was on a bus going to San Francisco. He figured out how to helped me out to get to where I'm going until somebody found me. But by the time I got off the bus, I was so sick, I collapsed on the bus stop benches. I just had to go to sleep. And while I was sleeping, the team was looking for me all over San Francisco. They were going into stores, calling my name, wondering where I was. CDCR paroled me without any medical care, without even testing me for COVID, without nothing. They just threw me out there. And once my community found me, they took me right away to COVID testing. I was positive. The religious community came together and just put me in a church, isolated me, nursed me back to health. For that whole month, the whole community came in and literally risked their life because I had COVID so bad. Dropped food off for me, called me, made sure I was still alive in there, made sure I had medication, make sure I checked my temperature at all times. The community saved my life. I was that bad. And this is the community coming together, saving me without any help or supervision from the parole office, from ICE, from CDCR. The parole officer was still trying to put me in a transitional housing, and the community fought for me and said if he was going to go to transition, he's going to die. You guys cannot take care of him. You're going to throw him back into just, a place where you're going to leave him in a room to die by himself. They had to fight the parole office. Till this day, we don't know what ICE is saying. I still have a detainer, so they could come pick me up at any time to detain me. But since I've been home, I've been advocating for my brothers and sisters in ICE. I've been advocating to stop ICE transfer with Vision Act. I find a love and a passion to destroy ICE, to stop their inhumane treatment, to stop their separation of family, and change the narrative of immigrants, how they demonize us. And I'm just blessed, and I could show people what a success parole is without ICE, without wasting time being in detention, coming home to your family after 2 decades and giving back to the community like I wanted to, because I took so much. And then this machine they call ICE is just a money-making machine, and it's a racist machine because they're victimizing only people of color. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bun. I think one of the beautiful things about your story was because I was part of all y'all's journey coming home. And I think what Bun's story really shows is how community knows how to take care of each other. Community knows what we need. We rented a van and had people holding a giant, what's it called, blanket. So that way Bun could be in the back and we could still socially distant in a van when we know he got COVID. And we got him COVID testing. We got KFC drop-offs. We got people sleeping in tents outside. These are all things possible. And we know how to navigate what it means and what it looks like to heal community. This isn't because the structure, these systems help. It's because literally we knew what to do, how to take care of each other and how to celebrate someone coming home. I think we had Zoom parties where we could be reunited with your families and stuff and just celebrate that you are out. And so I think it's just so important how the journey of people coming home is always tied and connected to the power of community and how it is possible. Because I think y'all being here talking about your stories shows how freedom is possible and how it could continue to be possible. Yeah, so I'm gonna switch to the last question, which is, what ways can people get involved with either your personal campaign? I know some of y'all have pardons going on, which I'll explain what that is, and overall general campaigns that minimizes and descales the power of ICE in the prison industrial complex. I'm going to pause and explain a little bit about pardon. So the importance of a pardon is that it's granted by the governor and expunges people's conviction order, which makes them no longer deportable. So people who have pardon campaigns, once they get granted a pardon, they are no longer at risk for deportation anymore. And so I want to share that, and then I'm going to switch it to Charles so you could speak on your own campaign and share what's going on with that.
Appreciate you, Moradi. Yeah, every first Friday of the month, I share a toolkit. Actually, I think this is it right here on the side. Every first Friday of the month, try to pressure the governor, you know, put my name in his ear, put my name in his inbox, in his Instagram, in his Twitter, you know, wherever he can, and get as many community members as possible to put in his ear, you know, pardon Charles Joseph. I've got much support. I've got the mayor's support in Sacramento. I even got the DA to give me a support letter in Sacramento. And that was like, everybody was just like, when I told them, they were like, whoa, like what? How did you know? But the DA of Sacramento even gave me a support letter. Faith congregations, organizations, you know, some of the most important support letters that I got was from guys in prison, you know, that I did my time with, and them talking about, you know, me and my character, because I spent years with those guys, you know, and they know me well. And for them to say all those things, it's true, because they were with me, you know, they were with me through my walk and my transformation from who I was and who I became and who I am. And yeah, so pardon, is it on the, let me see.
Yeah, we put it in the chat.
Okay, it's in the chat. It's in the chat. Thank you, Moradi. Amazing, Moradi. I appreciate you guys having me here. Thank you for the invite. Much respect. Much love to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I'm going to pass it to Bun, who will talk about more about Vision Act and like the importance of everything going on with that too. And any other updates you want to share with Bun.
Yes, thank you. Vision Act, AB3, Vision Act, it's important because it stops the communication with ICE and law enforcement. It stops direct transfer. It stopped the probation office from telling ICE where our people are living at. It stopped them from using law enforcement to do an ICE raid or to do an ICE apprehension. It stops the whole California, because there's some county that don't help ICE at all, but we want it to be all of California to stop coordinating with ICE for immigration detention. As of today, we need your help so bad. Yesterday, we had 20 votes going to the Senate. Yesterday, the Police Chief Association put out a writing and sent it to all the senators, and we lost 2 senators this morning, 3 senators this morning. Now we need everybody's help to call your senators, ask them to support Vision, especially community members in Central California, in Southern California. We need everybody on board, because we have until the 10th before our bill goes up to the Senate vote. And if we don't have the votes, we're gonna have to kill the bill to make it a 2-year bill. And we're not even sure in 2 years we could even raise it again, because Gavin Newsom is going up for re-election. And we don't want carve-outs, because the police commission, the police association, they want carve-outs. They're still talking about formerly incarcerated people as rapists, murderers, but they're only talking about immigrants that has a record. And the police also are saying, without them having joint jurisdictions, they can't help ICE protect them in an ICE raid. They can't enforce criminal arrests, and those are all just lies. We don't know what how many senators they spoke to, but what we hear this morning was we're losing senators fast, and they're worried about the carves out. They don't want no what they call bad actors, which is false, because this law doesn't change any criminal jurisdiction. It doesn't change how much time you get. It doesn't change how long you serve. But it do changes when you serve your term. You serve your full term. You should come home to your family. And the difference between being detained and come home to your family is when you're detained, you lose a lot of your rights. You don't, they don't give you lawyers. You can't earn any money or family support to get a lawyer if you don't have any. And also you're away from your family. But if you come home, you have a chance to connect with your community, get resources, make money, and hire yourself a lawyer. Vision Act doesn't stop ICE from coming to get you, but it do stop direct transfer and law enforcement from helping ICE. ICE can come do their own job. The federal government can do their own job and come look for people and try to arrest people. Californians don't need to help them come get our own people in our own community. So please call your senators right now, tomorrow morning, because our deadline is coming up fast and we have to make a decision within this next week. If we want to kill the bill or we want to make it a 2-year, but we want to do it this year, but no carve out to protect everybody so everybody can be treated equally. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Juan. I think the fact that this is the top bill that the Police Association is putting on their radar to go against shows that we're doing something right. So yeah, there's a toolkit in the chat and I encourage everyone to phone bank. I'm not saying you have to share where you live, but I think you should phone bank and say you're a concerned member of the community that wants to see Vision Act passed. That's all. So I think you could also follow ICE out of California on Twitter and also Asian Law Caucus on Twitter to see any updates about Vision Act. Yeah, and then now I will go to Maria. What are some personal campaign updates or just sharing like reentry stuff that you're working on?
Hi, everybody. I too am asking the governor for a pardon. So that I could, I don't have to worry about facing deportation back to the Philippines. And your support means a lot. I just want to reiterate on the Vision Act. Most formerly incarcerated individuals that were transferred to ICE, most of them are juvenile lifers and lifers. And they went through decades of just, change. CDCR has invested in them, in these individuals, by facilitating groups for their rehabilitation so that when they parole, they can be productive members of society. And I just want to put it out there, just like Fee, our brother Fee, who's currently detained right now. He's a firefighter. So CDCR made a way for him to become a firefighter while incarcerated, right? But now he's detained in one of the detention centers. Instead of utilizing him, fighting fires in California, he's sitting there in a cell in detention. And yet you've invested money in an individual like him so that he can be of service to the community. So when police officers are saying that they're still a danger to society, no, they went through rehabilitation. They're the ones that are speaking with the youth right now, telling them to make their choices, not to make the same choices that they've made. Are they really going to be that, danger to society because they have ICE holds? They've served their time already for the crime they committed when they were younger, when the system failed them at that time, but they choose not to look into that. But it's a numbers game in the government, from state to federal to state. That's why we have private contractors picking us up at CDC. So they just want to keep the money flowing, money going, but they can use it otherwise in another different programs, you know. But by saying that that it's, you know, we're still going to be a danger, no, we've gone through the process of becoming productive members while we were still incarcerated, and now it's our time to give back to our community, you know. And why invest in us if you don't think we were going to be good candidates for becoming productive members of society? So it's just a numbers game. But when you call the senators and they say like, no, they have criminal convictions. Yeah, they committed those crimes when they were juvenile, when they were younger, but now they're older and they're serving their community. They deserve that second chance. Also, for reentry, most formerly incarcerated individuals have a difficulty obtaining their, medical DMV when, like some individuals, they have to ask permission from ICE if they can go to DMV and obtain their IDs. They have to ask ICE if they can work, which is submit their work permit application. So this is where the community help comes in. APSC has been very helpful to a lot of formerly incarcerated with immigration holds. They help them process their work permit applications, connect them with community members when they're looking for employment, help them navigate while they get their DMV, their Medi-Cal, their Social Security services. So it's very important that the community works together to help, our formerly incarcerated with immigration issues. Did that answer that question, Murari?
Yeah, that was great.
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. I think I also really want to reiterate the importance of Fee. So Fee was a firefighter when he was incarcerated fighting California fires the past 3 years. And not only when he was released for parole, he end up being a direct transfer during COVID. And so California policy of direct transfer during COVID is actually sending people to out-of-state detention facilities because they want to prevent overcrowding in California. So I think Fee is either in like Louisiana or Texas, but just like the point is he's at an out-of-state facility, not only separated from his community, but like completely isolated, and they funnel people around during a pandemic. So I really want to reiterate like the situation he is, because like he should be released, he should be free, he should have been able to return home. And the importance of his case really shows how, let me backtrack. So it's really important for us to check out the toolkit and phone bank and really advocate for Fee while he's still inside. Because right now he's still at risk for deportation and is still stuck at a out-of-state detention facility. Okay, that's all I had to say with that. I want to close out now by thanking the panelists. Thank you so much for your wisdoms. Can we get some love in the chat right now? Really shout out to everyone's experiences, your freedom, welcome home. Shout out to like the love that you provide and give. That's all. Nifa, I don't know if you have any more else things to say and close out.
Yeah. Oh man, I had to be off camera for a little bit. I just want to take a moment to just really thank y'all for showing up today and having the courage to share your stories and advocate for yourself. I just want to take a community breath with y'all right now, because this system really is a joke. It really is. It's like as I'm listening to your stories, and I'm thinking about my ancestors who were forced to come here. Forced. In the hypocritical system of now hurting others for wanting to come here. to create a life. And they can't even have that. It's sad. It literally is. It literally is. So I'm just holding y'all in my heart. You know, like shit, if I could go to Africa, I'd dip up out of here right now if I could. I wasn't supposed to be here. My family was not supposed to be here. And I'm just thankful for y'all for sharing it with me because I learned so much. I learned so much today. And now I'm y'all advocate. That's crazy. That is so crazy. This system is literally a joke. So I'm leaving y'all with, you know, an affirmation of love and support. Unconditional love to close this space out. And I know it may be hard to speak it, you know, over on your end, but I'll speak it. And then you just kind of repeat after me. You can keep yourself on mute or you can have your audio on. But I just want to say this affirmation with y'all. We are unconditional love, abundance, high vibrational experiences, and sacred connections. We are unconditional love, abundance, high vibrational experiences, and sacred connections. I thank y'all for showing up. I thank y'all for y'all wisdom and y'all dedication to the liberation of your people, to the liberation of all our people. As we fight this fight, a ridiculous fight that's really literally don't make no sense. I'm sending love and I thank y'all. I'm Nifa. I'm your host. Thank y'all. Oh man. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Ashe. If y'all want to just, you know, if there's anything you want to leave out the space, you know, to close it out, folks who have came and listened to these stories, you can say it in the chat. You can speak some love to the folks who shared their heartfelt stories. If the folks who shared their stories want to say something, you can. I want to hold this space for y'all to do that. Because this was not easy to do. It's like, as I'm listening to this information, I'm like, oh, this is traumatic. This is deep. This is not like, oh, I'm going to educate you on stuff. It's like real life. Like, this is my life that I'm experiencing. And I just want to hold that space for y'all right now.
I would just like to say, God bless Bun, Maria, and Charles. And thank you for coming. It was really enlightening. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I also just want to thank everyone who came here today and shared their story. I think one of the things that sometimes gets lost is the connection between the carceral system, the prison industrial complex, and immigration, you know. And I think, like, ultimately, like, we're fighting white supremacy, you know, we're fighting white supremacy, period. You know, that is what the prison industrial complex is built on. That is what post-colonialism, you know, the world that we live in, like it's built on. And I think about it in a sense that like the way that my family came here to the US is you know, we didn't destabilize our country. Like, the US did that. You know what I mean? We didn't bring guns into our country. The US did that. We didn't cause the war in Vietnam, Cambodia. Like, the US did that. You know, we're not all the whole mess we're seeing in the Middle East right now. The US did that, right? And so folks are forced, you know what I mean, to like to leave, to flee, and then they come here. And I think you know, it was said here that, like, we're put in these conditions, right? These conditions that you're just set up to fail, man. Like, it's just, and again, all of that is rooted in white supremacy, period. Like, it's just, and I just want to acknowledge you know, folks' courage, folks' journey. And we got your back, you know, I mean that 100%, we got your back. So I appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys, and I know I share a lot of space with you guys as well. And I'm honored, you know, to hear you guys' story. And yeah, it is an injustice, you know. I mean, that's why that you know, that you all are continue to fight, you know, which I see is what the oppressor, you know, would never give us. And that's why, like us being oppressed, you know, we have to keep fighting to you know, free ourselves. Yeah, and definitely understand what you guys are going through, you know, as I myself am one of the fortunate one that, you know, received that pardon from Governor Newsom. But still, you know, my heart still ache because, you know, a lot of folks, especially you guys too, you know, that I'm really, you know, fighting alongside with, are still under this, you know, this injustice, this scrutiny. That's why, you know, I mean, I'm all in with you guys, you know, to until, you know, you guys are free, until like all the brothers and sisters are free from this.
I like that was in the chat. There can be no exception or exclusion to humane treatment because all life is sacred. Ashe. Ashe. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good night's sleep. Rest, because rest is a liberation of our people. Take that time, that space, get some dinner, and take care of yourselves.
Have a good evening, everybody.
I'm out of here, y'all. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye. Maria, get out of here. You still in here?
I'm trying to close it. Have a good night, Nifa.
Good night. You can't even hear that, Jose. You can't even hear it.
Oh, never mind. I was trying to give like a closeout.
No, bro, it did not work.
Oh man. It's all good. Yo, thank you. Let me stop recording. Oh.
Yeah.